Hello everybody, this is a video response to the Woods of Jordan. Very cool dude. I like him and his dad, and they have a Bible study on Stickam every Wednesday. I try to make it there as often as I can. So no disrespect here, but this video response is to Paul's free will did not save him. And I think there's a couple of misunderstandings going on here that I just kind of want to clear up, and I could be wrong, but you know, here we go. I think the first thing I would want to say is that I agree, Paul's free will did not save him. Free will can save nobody. There's nothing about free will that would save anybody. There seems to be a misunderstanding here on what the free will person's view is concerning free will and how it works. Now, it is quite clear from Acts 9 that Paul was chosen. He was a chosen vessel. God predestined him for the work that he would do. However, that doesn't mean that his free will did not take a part in it. In fact, Paul himself thinks that it did. If you read Acts 26:19, Paul clearly says, when he's explaining the event that occurred, he says that he did not respond disobediently, that he responded obediently. This means that he felt or thinks that he had an actual choice here. Jesus appeared before him, asked him, "Why are you persecuting me?" And he had the option of ignoring that and walking away, or accepting the reality and the truth of what was happening. And that's what he is demonstrating and showing us in Acts 26:19 when he says that he responded obediently. So it just seems to me that using Paul as an example to demonstrate that free will does not play a role in salvation is just a very bad example, because Paul himself seems to disagree. Now, I don't know how the Arminianist would respond to this. I'm not an Arminianist, at least not, I would not say a complete or full Arminianist. I'm more of a Molinist. I believe that God has mental knowledge, and to demonstrate that God has mental knowledge, look at Matthew 17:27, John 21:6, John 15:22 through 24, John 18:36, Luke 4:24 through 46, Matthew 26:24, and one of my favorite examples would be Romans 9:29, because it's very interesting, because the Calvinist loves Romans 9. It's one of their favorite scriptures to point to, Romans 8 and 9. And it's interesting to me because the Calvinist view is supported by Romans 9. However, so is the Arminianist view right at the end. I think it's like verse 30 something. And right in the middle of all that is verse 29, which supports the mental knowledge Molinist view. So God, through his mental knowledge, knows, based on what conditions are put in front of you, how you would freely respond to those conditions, and can therefore use your free will as a tool to pre-elect you. And that's basically the way it works. And in order to demonstrate that it does not work this way, one would have to show that God predestining through knowing you, that type of knowledge of knowing you does not involve mental knowledge, and there's just no way to do that. So as long as this is even an option, the Calvinist worldview seems rather faulty, especially if there's theological problems with the Calvinist view, which there are tons. But so it just seems to me that Paul in Acts 26 makes it quite clear that his free will did take a role in his being saved. So, see, the problem here is that one cannot demonstrate what kind of knowledge God used in his election. The Bible clearly states that he did use pre-knowledge. He pre-knew those who he elected, but in what way did he know them? It doesn't demonstrate that. So we have no idea. So you can't really use the pre-knowing to solve the Calvinist Arminianist issue. Rather, you have to use something else to solve it. And it seems to me one of the easiest ways to do that is to ask the question, do human beings have free will? And it seems to me quite obvious, extremely obvious, that human beings do have free will. If I do not have moral freedom, then how am I responsible for my moral actions? So it just doesn't make any sense. In fact, if Adam and Eve do not have free will, how are they responsible for eating of the fruit? How are they responsible for the fall? It is blatantly obvious that human beings have free will. So I think that the Calvinist has much harder of a time to demonstrate the soundness of Calvinism than the free will individuals do. And by free will individuals, I am including Molinists and with Arminians, because we both believe in free will, and that free will does play a role in salvation. So it just seems to me that because we cannot know what kind of knowledge God used to elect His elect, that the Calvinists can't gain solid footing. However, the fact that it's quite clear that we have free will, the Arminians can gain solid footing, at least much more solid than the Calvinists can. But it seems to me, since God clearly does have middle knowledge, and middle knowledge does seem to completely clear up all the problems that the Calvinists and the Arminians have, it just seems to me that that is probably the most likely answer to the problem.